United States. I often wonder about that. I ask this because that changed what opportunities are available to us. The black hole provides these opportunities to the youth of Pakistan. By supporting the black hole, you're not just funding an institution. You're investing in minds and projects that have the real power to change the world. I urge you to look at your tables, and there are donation cards placed at your tables. Those are the keys to unlocking the potential. Your generation tonight will sustain this institute, allowing many more bright minds to pursue their dreams, innovate, and eventually give back to the community. Let's ensure that the future of curiosity burns bright as the black hole. Thank you once again for being here and for sharing in the vision.
Thank you, Abbas. And now, who you've all been waiting for, the only thing that stands between you and finally getting to hear from Dr. Hoodbhoy himself is my brief introduction of him. And believe me, it was very hard to keep this introduction brief because he is a very impressive man. Dr. Pervez Hoodbhoy is a Pakistani nuclear physicist, essayist, and national security analyst who lives in Islamabad. He taught at the Quaid-e-Azam University Physics Department for 40 years before becoming a distinguished professor of physics and mathematics at Foreman Christian College University in Lahore until 2020. Dr. Hoodbhoy graduated from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology with undergraduate degrees in electrical engineering and mathematics, a master in solid-state physics, and a PhD degree in nuclear physics. He has held visiting professorships at MIT, Carnegie Mellon University, and the University of Maryland, and among the many, many awards he has won, they include the UNESCO Kalinga Prize for the Popularization of Science, the Joseph A. Burton Award from the American Physical Society, and the Jean Meyer Award from Tufts University. In 2011, he was included in the list of 100 most influential global thinkers by Foreign Policy magazine, and from 2013 to 2018, he was made a member of the United Nations Secretary General's Advisory Board on Disarmament. If that's all not enough, he was also the head of Mashal Books in Lahore and was responsible for a major translation effort to produce books in Urdu that promote modern thought, human rights, and the emancipation of women. He himself is in fact an author, and his latest book is Pakistan, Origins, Identity, and Future. This book is actually available for sale at the back of the room, and Dr. Hoodbhoy will be signing copies after this event. Dr. Hoodbhoy created and anchored a series of TV programs in Pakistan's education system and 2 other series aimed at bringing scientific concepts to ordinary members of the public. And as if all of that was not enough, in 2022, he founded The Black Hole, what you're here to hear about today. A community space in Islamabad dedicated to the pursuit of science, art, and culture. For those of you who don't know my family, it is very large. The ages range from like 5 to 80 something. I never ask, it's rude. And so you can imagine how remarkable it is for that entire age range to be sitting at a table last night with Dr. Hoodbhoy, intently listening to every word he was saying. Believe me, many have tried, that never happens. That was a first for us. So now I would like to invite you up, Dr. Hoodbhoy, to show everyone the incredible, fascinating things we learned from you yesterday.
Thank you, Farah, for this wonderful introduction. Thank you, Abbas, wherever you are. his name, for organizing this wonderful event. I'm delighted to meet so many old friends, and I'm going to make new friends. I've already made some. I guess what brings you here tonight is not the prospect of an excellent dinner, you've already had that, but because you're worried. You should be worried, because Pakistan is not doing well at all. Nobody wants to visit it. You go to India, you'll see thousands of tourists. You go to Nepal, even Bangladesh, there are foreigners. Hardly anyone visits Pakistan. Even Pakistanis don't feel particularly secure over there. Try going to a bazaar. A woman, try wearing something with halwa written on it, in the Arabic way, and you might have an unpleasant encounter, as a young woman did very recently in Lahore, and I guess a lot of you know about that. But she was lucky. The others, where a finger is pointed, and then that person stands no chance, and might end up like the factory manager in Sialkot, a Sri Lankan who then was turned into cinders. Or what had happened in Shantinagar and Gojra, and very recently in a small town near Lahore where 70 churches were burned down. And so if you're not worried, you ought to be worried. After all, what is it that's gone wrong with us? What is that mindset that has come to possess us? So let's think about how mindsets are formed and how they might possibly be changed. Well, one of the most fascinating psychology experiments that I've read was by an ethologist. His name will shortly come to my mind, but his experiment was fascinating. He was looking at ducklings, and he said, Conrad Lorenz, he got the Nobel Prize for ethology, actually. And what he looked at was when an egg hatches and a duckling emerges, it thinks of the first thing, the first thing it encounters is normally the mother. What he did was, in place of the mother, he stood there, and the ducklings thought he was the mother. And so when he would wade in the pond, there'd be a flock of ducklings that would be following him. And this happened until the ducklings grew old. And that tells you how important the formative years are, from the time that you're born up till a certain age. Then the influences from around you, they create your mindset. What they call in German the Weltanschauung. And that then makes you as a person. Sonia was talking about us being born with the hardware in place. Yes, that's absolutely true. The language faculty is in fact the most obvious example of that, the most well-known example. But we have that hardware. Then it's a question of what's the operating system to be, what's the software that then modifies our behavior as we go through life. Well, what happens in Pakistan is you go through the normal education system, and that's what creates your mindset, and that's what creates the kind of people who today have become a danger to the world, but even more a danger to their own selves. It's the kind of mindset which prohibits our taking a rightful place among the nations today. It's that mindset which does not allow science and the arts to flourish. And it's manifest in such a clear way in so many, many disciplines. Look at, for example, where we are in exploration of space as compared to what the Indians have done. Suparco, the Pakistani Space Organization, was created in 1962. That was long before, 2 years before the Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO, was made. Suparco was essentially the creation of Abdul Salam. We should have been ahead of them in terms of the race to the moon, the race to Mars. And yeah, maybe we'll get there, but it'll be on the basis of a Chinese rocket. What is it that has now stopped us from progressing? What is that mindset which has gripped us? And most importantly, how do we change it? If there was some magic wand that I had, certainly I would have used it. You would have used it. Somebody would have found it. But there is no magic wand. It's a slow, patient process by which we can begin changing minds slowly but surely in the direction that we want the minds to be changed. So how do minds change? Okay, look, forget the ducklings. That's too early a stage that you and I can do nothing about. That's what happens at home, in the immediate parenting. And of course, that's the most important thing. That's how a child learns to look at the universe. But that's something you and I can't do very much about, because that happens within the family. So then what's the next most important thing? That's the school. The school environment, where the child is exposed to influences, to of course his teachers, to his textbooks, to whatever he's supposed to learn in school. And sadly, what happens in our schools is propaganda, lies, and indoctrination. And the consequence of that has been the tragic situation that we're facing today. There's no move to get away from that. In fact, the single national curriculum, on which I've written extensively, sadly to no effect, is now very much in force in Pakistan. Basically, this equivalences the public school education with what is taught in madrasas, which have not changed in 1100 years since Sultan al-Mulk created it at that time. And so our options of changing the mindset are few. Few, but still existent. And so this brings me to the Bible. It's a tiny, tiny effort. It's, the total floor area would be about twice this hall that we're sitting in. Maybe less than twice. And yet, the idea behind it is such that if replicated, if extended, could actually make a dent. So what is it? It's a community space open to everybody, anyone who wants to walk in and listen to a lecture, sit in the library, join one of the programs. Among the programs are, well, you could come on astronomy night and watch the stars. You could see the eclipse. You could then go and read up on that. We have many books on astronomy in the library. You could enroll in the teacher's training program where we teach real physics and math, not the stuff that they have out there in the schools. You don't learn anything in schools. Our universities are in a pathetic shape, most of them. There might be an exception here and there, my friend from, well, Habib University is here, and of course that's a good university. LUMS is good, IBA is good, NUST is okay. Now it's, a few places where you can get at least some smattering of education. But by and large, what do? Well, then you create a community space. In this community space, everybody is welcome and you get something that nourishes your mind. So how does this impact upon fundamentalism, upon creating a space for secular thought, for creating a space for intelligent discussion? How is it that this will help people break out of that? And the answer is, there's no guarantee. People can come, they can listen to one lecture, they will not listen to another lecture if they don't want. But the more experiences that a person is exposed to, the broader the swath of knowledge that's available, the more choices a person has. And so, at some point, a person's rationality kicks in. Okay, you've been programmed, everyone's been programmed, but at some point you start getting the ability to make the right decisions, to move away from what you've been taught in your school or college or university, or at home, or by the environment at large. And so that's the whole goal of creating the black hole. Is it enough? No. It's a tiny, tiny effort. What we need is a black hole in every neighborhood of Islamabad, in every neighborhood of Lahore, of Karachi, across the country. Okay, so what's the point of trying to set up something so tiny? If it's so tiny, well, then it doesn't have any impact at all. But that's not true, because we live in the age of technology. Technology gives us a huge magnification factor. So I was just talking to people over here, and incredible as it sounds, they've already heard of the black hole. This is 14,000 miles away, whatever, and yet people have heard about it. Why? Because it's on Facebook Live, YouTube videos, and we have something like 80,000 subscribers. We started from zero, and in the 2.5 years that we've been in existence, it's gone up to 80,000, maybe it'll go up more. And now I have to tell you something that's really interesting. Of course, we have viewership from all over the world, but most of it is from India. Heck, why? Well, it's because 90% of our programs are in Urdu, 10% English, it's fine, maybe 15%, we'd want more. But it's something that, first of all, they're quite fascinated by. They say that, oh, we are actually learning from this, and we have Indians invited over Zoom. So this is the other thing that I must tell you, that we have Zoom interviews. I didn't think that Zoom interviews would work at all. After all, one of the things that I really want to avoid are Zoom meetings. But when you have a big screen and you have an audience over there, and you have somebody who's guiding the discussion, well then it sort of makes sense. And so, Rafiq, we had you on Zoom, and it was, I think we got about 10, 12,000 views on that. This way, I'm able to access amazing people across the world. I'll tell you just one of them. So, I get a call from an unknown number, and it's a US number. I pick up the phone and it says, I'm so-and-so. Do you recognize me? I was your student. I said, frankly, no, but tell me. When was this? He said, oh, this was 1976. All right. Okay. Tell me more. So it turns out that this guy was, I don't know how many of you recognize the area, but he's from Kalapathar near Haripur, which is in the NWFP, KPK. And he said that he said he had been sent to a madrasa. He didn't like the madrasa, or he was thrown out. He went to the army threw him out. He said, I didn't know English and I didn't know Urdu, but when the army threw me out, they gave me a little bit of money, and with that money I bought a bus ticket to Rawalpindi. And when I reached Rawalpindi, I asked the bus conductor, how far can I go on this? And he said, oh, I'll take you to Qaid-e-Azam University over there. And so he comes over there and he goes around the departments wondering about which department he should enroll in. He asked somebody, what do they teach here in international relations? He said, oh, they will teach you to be a diplomat. He says, no, I don't know Urdu, I don't know English, I will never succeed in that. He comes to the physics department, he sees formulae scratched on the board. He says, yeah, there's no English here, no. No Urdu here, I'll enroll here. And he enrolled over there. And then there's a conference to which a Nobel laureate had been invited, Ronald Hoffman, and he went, he talked to him, and somehow they got friendly and he invited him to the University of Oregon. He went there. By the way, he walked from the university to Nathiagari because he didn't have the money. And you know, that's a pretty stiff 40-mile walk in a mountainous area. Anyway, he gets to the US. He makes a career and he makes the world's first video phone. Incredible. I thought this guy was pulling a fast one on me. I checked out. Samsung had actually bought his phone. And now he owns multiple homes in Silicon Valley, whatever. But that's the sort of thing that then gives hope to our young people, because our young people are desperate. They want to flee Pakistan. They get on these boats and then they die in the Mediterranean. So one purpose of the black hole is to project success. Success such as some of you people over here have achieved. And to give them the hope that they too can make it somewhere. Maybe not as big as you folks have, but within Pakistan. So we have an entrepreneurship program, which unfortunately has not taken off, but we'll work on it. It didn't take off for multiple reasons. But let me tell you what has taken off, and that's teachers training. It's, look, the core, the absolute core on which a nation's progress depends is physics and math. And it's not because they're my disciplines, but because historically this has been so. It didn't come from management. It didn't come from a study of history. It came from this solid, rock solid stuff that leads to all the creation of modern technology, and it will become more and more so as time goes on. Just think of the fact that quantum computers are around the corner. What do you need for quantum computers? Okay, there's the hardware stuff. But what if you had the hardware? Well, then you need to program them. How do you program them? You know that the programming languages that you teach for normal computers, classical computers as we call them, they won't do. Because the principle is entirely different. What you need for this is linear algebra, which is math. You need quantum mechanics, which was that thing so mysterious 100 years ago, but now, like, car mechanics need wrenches and screwdrivers. You as a quantum computer programmer will need to know the Born rules, etc., for programming a computer. It's come down to that level. The point is, you have to educate people in the hard sciences. You've also got to open up their minds by teaching them about the world, about history, about music, art, dance. Now, dance, so important. I think some people might disagree over here, but I think it's liberatory and it's forbidden. But we teach it. We haven't stopped so far. We teach music. When the Taliban took over Kabul, they smashed all the musical instruments they could find, and people fled from there, including graduates of Kabul University's music department. Well, it was an opportunity for us. So at the Black Hole, we teach music, and the teachers of music include those who have fled from there. I hope they'll be able to stay, because now the government of Pakistan is out to deport yet more Afghans from Pakistan. But let's see, we take it all in our stride. I'm going to stop over here. Look, it's purely opportunistic that what we are doing. We saw, my friends and I must say that to get something like the Black Hole moving, you need a team. You need a big team. So we have 14 people doing various things at various levels. The most important thing was to get that team together. Unless people work in sync with each other, an organization of this sort cannot exist. The fact that it exists is a sort of a miracle. And what we want to do is take advantage of it, expand, move into different areas. We want a bigger library. So it's a tiny library. It's about half of this room. We'd like it to be double this room. We'd like to have more teachers come and be trained, and train them the way that we think they should be trained, not the way in which it is done by the government, which means they get a certificate, but they learn nothing. We want to expand our outreach to other schools in the area, and so we have a lot of things that we can do. And finally, I'll say that should any of you visit Islamabad, you would be very welcome to come, not just to hear a lecture or see this or that, but to actually contribute by your presence, by speaking to students, to the general guests about your experiences, about your expertise, maybe give your advice, maybe whatever you want to say. So we, of course, don't allow everyone. That would then lead to absolute chaos, but anyone who has anything interesting to say, anything of importance to say, and can say it well, oh, we would love to have you, because and you know, I say this because from an operational point of view, it's so hard to fill every single day. The only day off that we have is Monday. Mondays, the staff gets the normal holiday, but every day we have to have some activity, which is then put on Facebook, YouTube, etc., and which is what people watch over here. So of course the quality is uneven, sometimes good, sometimes not. I'll end over here. Thanks very much. Such a delight to have so many people here, and now I would so like your comments, your questions, And is there a mic that can be taken around perhaps? Or perhaps you could come up front and...
I have a quick question. Can you hear me or?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, but everybody needs to hear you.
So you said that anyone in Pakistan, if they want to contact the platform, if they want to participate, want to join it, what do they need to do? They just call you guys, or what is the procedure then in Pakistan? That's for the kids basically, right?
Yeah, so the way to do it is go to the website, and there's an email address over there, and all the social media links, whatever else. I'm happy to give you my own email address, and you can write directly to me. That's both of these work equally well.
And what if they do not have access to internet or anything else?
Oh, no. We assume that everybody has internet, and that's pretty much true. Look, since we can't change the whole world, but we have 80,000 subscribers, and they do write in. People put comments on videos. They give suggestions for new programs, events, whatever. And I think it's fair to assume that the internet is available pretty much everywhere.
I'm pretty sure there is some remote areas in Pakistan where there's more internet. I'm not sure, I don't know, maybe there are some areas which will not have internet. Those kids will not have access to internet, so what they will be deprived of, what you're offering. I'm just wondering, like how can they access?
You are absolutely right. Maybe somebody has better figures over here, but I think that at least 40% of the Pakistani population has access to internet. Now, how much? 80%. 80%?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, so that, okay. So if 80% has and 20% doesn't. But look, even if 1% had, what's 1% of 250 million? 2.5 million, right? That's a huge number. And it's nothing before 80,000. So I don't think that internet access is really the bottleneck over here. And if you look at what's on social media, and social media is totally about the internet, you will see what kinds of ideas are popular in circulation, and you'll see that it's not people like you and me who have taken advantage of it, but those who subscribe to a regressive mode of thinking, who have made the best use of the internet in propagating their thought.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll come there.
I have a question.
Thank you for having me. My question is, Doctor, you said physics and mathematics are very important, two major subjects to progress much faster. So as I can see, as in your presentation, I've seen that you guys have taken so many subjects and you are diluting yourself. My question or my comments would be that just like in India, there is an institution called IIT. Now their graduates are seen all over the world. And I'm saying that if we limit ourselves to that kind of program, and because we need faster development, and I think that kind of program like IIT will certainly get a lot of graduates in Pakistan, and I think Pakistan can be technologically, or they will progress technologically, and will have some sort of a say in the international forum. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. I completely agree. We need IITs, we need lots of them. IITs first established by Jawaharlal Nehru and Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, who was the education minister, have made a big difference to India, and they have been really the engines of growth of Indian science and technology. Although I must say that I'm not as impressed by the IITs as by TIFR, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, which is way better. Anyway, they serve different purposes. Why can't we have IITs in Pakistan? Well, look, 55 years ago, when I went back to Pakistan, the Vice Chancellor of Islamabad University said to me, I was 23 years old, he says, "Welcome, Mr. Hoodbhoy. We want you to make this MIT. I said, my God, I mean, what's this poor little thing? Just a bachelor's, master's, no more than that. How is he supposed to make MIT? But look, everybody's been dreaming of MITs and IITs. What's the bottleneck? It's not that we don't have money to build buildings. We build plenty of buildings. We have now 300 universities, where we had a single university at the time of partition, which was Punjab University. The bottleneck is people. People. We don't have people. Why? Because of the rotten lower level education that we gave to them, which did not allow our natural capabilities to flower. So the hardware that we got was not supported by the software that society gave, and that's why terrorism, one thing, intolerance, another thing, inability to progress in science and technology, another thing yet. So how do you change this? The change is through, consider the fact that we are so few who think like this, who know that this is the problem. And so from a position of weakness, you have to be smart. The smart thing is to go for the elite. That's the low-hanging fruit. Don't get me wrong, I don't mean the financial elite, I mean the intellectual elite, I mean the best of the best. So take those students who are the best and the brightest, groom them, nurture them, and that's exactly what we are trying to do. I admit, we're not going to change the world, we're not going to change anything, but this is a step towards change. Anyone who says, I'm going to change everything, is a fraud. It can't be done. Anyone who says, I can change 1%, listen to him. Sir.
Great presentation, mashallah. I got a couple of questions. What are some of the upcoming projects for TBH, and how do they plan to expand their educational?
Oh, thank you. Sorry, folks, I thought I was doing loud enough myself. But once again, what are the upcoming projects for TBH, and how do you plan to expand their cultural and educational outreach? Part 2. Can I do that together? Are there any planned collaboration with other educational institutions or cultural institutions that you can share with us? Thank you.
Okay. I think I hinted a bit towards how we could possibly expand. We need more library space. We need a building of our own. We pay rent. In fact, 30% of our expenses is just building rent, and it's a tiny building. But you know how it is in Islamabad, the rents are, they've gone through the roof. We pay 9 lakh rupees a month for that tiny space that we are in. What we need to do is double our library, double our science lab. We need more equipment in the science lab. We need a bigger auditorium. Of course, that would be much nicer. Our auditorium can take 60 with an overrun capacity of, by the way, when some popular speaker comes, when they're sitting on the floor, then we've counted up till 120. Now that wouldn't be allowed here in the US because of fire rules, but yeah, we can double the capacity there. What we need is something bigger, and above all, we need more people that we can invite. We need a program every day, every single day. And we can't afford to pay anyone to come because we have no source of money except that our sponsors give to us. We don't charge. So anyone can walk into the library. In the lab, of course, it's a different thing because there we ourselves invite schools to come, but we don't charge the schools. We go to other schools. So the other thing that we would like to do more often is we would like to go to schools which are further away. So other than the schools in our neighborhood, and we have gone as far as Gilgit and Abbottabad. And I must say that they enjoyed it, we enjoyed it. And you know, kids, for the first time in their lives, now this will make no sense to people over here, because your kids go to school and they go to schools where there are labs. They actually play around with things. They actually do experiments themselves. Not in Pakistan, where they're told to read about it, remember it, and then regurgitate it in the exam. So we want more of that. So basically we want to do more of everything that we do. What is the second part of your question?
Are there any other educational institutions
Ah.
you will be collaborating?
Well, yes, schools. So schools now in Abbottabad and in Gilgit. And of course, in the surrounding areas. But not in terms of universities. Look, I wish we had a science museum in Islamabad, but there's only one in all of Pakistan, and that's in Karachi, and it's hard. Just the physical distance is too large to do any kind of meaningful collaboration there.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much we're really honored to have you and meet you in person. The Black Hole, the program that you have launched very recently, not even have been 3 years, we have been avid viewers of that program, and we have been introduced to a plethora of knowledge through that. You always bring very interesting guests, presenters, and panelists, and even the people who are attending the program, whether they are students or local people, are very knowledgeable. Recently, I was very impressed by a program that Muzammil Shah did on postmodernism, and it blew my mind at how much those young people knew, because I myself was not so much aware of this concept. Secondly, one thing that I've always been curious about is that why our yardstick of comparison, whether it's on any level, is always India. Why do we always say that we have to do this because they have done this? We are always comparing, Pakistan is always comparing itself to India. And you yourself, when you were introducing, you said that you brought up the space program, ISRO and SPARCO, and you yourself compare our space program with the Indian program. Why can't we have our own independent trajectory of progression and not bring India in?
Okay. First of all, with regard to the first part of your comment, you said we have interesting speakers. May I please request you, others in the audience, to suggest yet more interesting speakers, and we need a constant supply of them. So help us out on that. Why do we compare ourselves with India? Well, would you rather that we compare ourselves with China or the United States? Well, then things would look worse, wouldn't they? Why should we compare ourselves with anyone? The answer is because we live in an integrated world where the world has set standards, and rather than making our meter stick, our measuring rod shorter, which in order to please ourselves, we should deal with a fixed meter stick. We have to compete in the global marketplace. And look, it's so very telling that, and so very sad, that 80% of work visas which were officially given in 2023 were for drivers, the driver class. They go to the Middle East, they are raw labor, they are exploited. Just 3% of Pakistanis who go to the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, so forth, are in the position of managers, teachers, doctors, other kinds of professionals. There's even, look, we could send more technicians, more plumbers, electricians, car mechanics, and I think that's actually the greatest need in terms of the economy. And so it's a sort of a dream that we won't be able to do at the black hole, but I hope that some of you sitting over here will think of how to do this, how to create a professional, a technical vocational institute which is not like the ones that the government has. The government, whenever it touches something, it's like there was the touch of Midas. It's the exact opposite. It turns to dust. Think of something along those lines. And the payback on that is huge. We can't do it at the black hole. But you folks, think about it. Can you do something to produce plumbers and car mechanics and computer technicians, computer programmers? All that doesn't require a huge amount of capital investment. It needs to be done.
Sometimes they just need guidance, honestly. There are so many kids, but they just do not know where to start, how to start, and what to do.
They need master trainers. And that's where the crunch is. Just today, I read that the government of Pakistan is, in Islamabad, mind you, is training 2,500 plus teachers with 200 master trainers. And I said, my God, at the black hole, when we advertised, we got 480 applications for teacher trainees. We could find only 6 who could be trained. The rest have degrees. They have bachelor's, master's, MPhils, no PhDs. But when we gave them a written test, they couldn't even qualify, they couldn't even solve what are high school level problems, what would be high school level problems in this country. Our most distinguished professors of physics and mathematics wouldn't be able to get entrance into the IITs. It's so bad. What do? We start from the beginning. We start from scratch. But we don't fool ourselves. The government fools the people, the government fools itself. There is no way that you can find 200 master trainers in physics and math in Islamabad.
Question.
Yes. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
After me. Go ahead.
So, Dr. Hoodbhoy, my name is Syed Ali, and I have been a psychiatrist here for more than 40 years. I have done some Zoom conferences with different universities in Pakistan. Would the black hole be a venue that would give me the opportunity to help the knowledge base of your of the organization that you're spearheading?
Sorry, I'm not clear. What is it that you would like to present?
So I would like to do like Zoom conferences, for example, through Zoom, upon subjects related to mental health and neurosciences and so on.
Okay, we had a neuroscientist very recently. He's the head of the neurosciences department at MIT, and the hall was full and everybody was fascinated. And so neuroscience is certainly something that we're very interested in people who have done actual psychology experiments. And so certainly please send us a proposal, and I'll get back to you. I'll give you my email address. In fact, if people would like to note my email address, or they could just remember it, it's my last name, Hoodbhoy, at mit.edu.
I have one other quick question. Given that, as you probably know much better than I do, that our known universe has 100 billion galaxies, and our Milky Way is just one of them. The mindset that we have of thought and behavior that exists in Pakistan, is that a symptom of the political climate of our country?
Is that
A symptom.
a symptom? You know, we'd have to get into a longish debate about that. Politics is a reflection of society and of the forces that operate within society. In turn, politics then influences society. The most obvious example of that is how Ziaul Haq changed the fabric of Pakistani society. And so the two work in tandem with each other. It's a complex phenomenon, one that needs disaggregation and best discussed in a slightly different forum. Yeah, please.
Could you repeat your email address again, please? I didn't catch it.
It's my last name, Hoodbhoy, at MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, .edu, education. Yeah.
Good evening, Dr. Pervez Ji. What a great presentation. First of all, I would like to thank my dear friend Nazneen for giving me invitation to come here. And I learned so much after listening to you. And thank you to Dr. Singh. I don't know where she is, Dr. Sonia Singh. What a great presentator. Well, my question is, I'm an educator also. I want to ask, how did you come up with the name The Black Hole? Because if you think about black hole, you think like there is no light over there or anything. So that's my main question, and actually that's what caught my attention. I was double-minded, should I go to this evening? It's a weekday, I have to be at work in the morning very early. So I wasn't sure, but when I looked at the flyer I got, it said The Black Hole, and that's what caught my attention. Like, what is it about?
Okay, great question. A black hole, as all of you know, is a star which has died, and which the gravitational force has collapsed into a single point, and anything can fall into a black hole but nothing can come out. Well, there's a small caveat to that, and Stephen Hawking proved that radiation can come out. That's a quantum phenomenon. But really, that's not the reason that I call it the black hole. You see, Einstein's theory of general relativity, which predicted the black hole, also predicted that there are solutions where the matter falls into a black hole but re-emerges via a tunnel into a different universe. So hey, that fits so well, you know, you want to pull people in and you want to make them see a different world out there. So I guess that was the reason.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry. I don't want to interrupt, but we're gonna end on that note. I know we all have endless questions. Honestly, I have endless questions myself for Dr. Hoodbhoy. But he will be signing books at the back, and so you will have the chance to ask him more questions. questions and purchase a book, as well as donate. So, Abbas, like I said, would you like to get back on the stage?
Yep.
And thank you so much for that last question, because I have been meaning to ask Dr. Hoodbhoy that all evening, and I keep forgetting, so thank you. And if I can ask you all to remain seated for just a couple more minutes, please. We're wrapping up, but I do need you all to remain seated and give me your attention for just a couple more minutes, please. Thank you all again for joining us tonight. I hope that after hearing Dr. Hoodbhoy speak, you're as motivated as we are about supporting his cause. I know you might be thinking, why should I donate to an education system when a lot of people in Pakistan don't even get primary care education? But here's why. By all means, you should donate to people who don't get primary care education. That is the first place to start. But if those people who then get primary education have no opportunity to continue to advance their education, then where does that leave them? What future do they really have? This is the type of education that is not accessible to the general person in Pakistan. But it is the type of education that moves an entire nation forward by encouraging critical thinking and innovative thought, giving its people the tools and opportunities to actually use their limitless potential. So we encourage you all to donate to this cause today and to help Pakistan expand as a country, to help its people gain these critical thinking skills and make use of the education that they have worked so hard to gain. There are donation cards at your table. We would request all of you to make a donation, no matter how small or how big. Feel free to do big. And we'd also like to thank those of you who have been donating throughout the program. We've been seeing your donations come in, and we're very excited about it. So thank you so much, and we look forward to continuing to receive those donations.
I got it. I want to thank you all for coming out here on a Wednesday night. This is a great turnout. Thank you so much.